Hee-haw.
Oh, I think it's working. I believe it is. Is it working, Crackwayne? I need to know.
Yes, it's live. It's live.
Okay, I'm deafening. Hello. Today, I'm watching Prism and Downpour. I will give the best commentary that I can under very short notice. I believe, from what I've been told, they're playing Onryo and Nurse. I have no idea what the tiebreaker is. Let me ask. Wayne, what's the tiebreaker?
There's no tiebreaker.
There's no tiebreaker. Okay.
Don't definitely get in game.
Okay, well, I guess I'm just not deafening.
So I can tell you they're ready.
Or you're supposed to tell them they're ready. Refs.
Yes, Tor, you're supposed to tell them.
Yeah, you're supposed to tell them you're ready.
Okay, I'm deafening again. I've started streaming and casting, guys. Alright, so there's apparently no tiebreaker. So, that's cool. Alright. Should be good to go. Everybody's readied up? Hope they brought the right shit. I guess. Yeah. Alright. Got annotated and torn. Alright, so we're on Nostromo for some reason, I guess. I'm okay with it. It's something new. I don't know why the perk blockers aren't in alignment. I guess my settings are fucked. I'll change it next time. But there's Corrupt and First Survivor is already found. It was a really fast tag, actually, especially on this killer. Sloppy is in play. Survivor with medkits just running main. And TV's finally come on. We see Venom with the tape already. Pretty quick. Not a very safe loop here, especially with what I'm assuming to be no exhaustion. And that's going to be a pretty quick down at 5 gens before anything really happens. 2 tapes already grabbed, but on a map like Nostromo, you can play super territorially, especially with a killer like Sadako, who can just get a lot of pressure for free. And we see killer running close to hook, probably a pain res. And it is, because they skipped another hook on the way there. And pretty good add-ons, the Eerie tape and the ring drawing, obviously the way to go. Just a lot of free passive condemn pressure. Really puts a limit, a limit on how much pressure the survivors can have by just grabbing a tape and holding it because of the ring drawing. And another survivor already found, this time with a tape, which could be pretty detrimental. Very fast tag, and we could see the Onryo just going back to hook. Yeah, or going around that area. And already demanifested again. Could be gonna go for a re-teleport. Trying to get some condemn pressure. Maybe slow down our gens a little bit. A condemn kill, especially on a map like this, could be pretty unlikely, but I could see a lot of pressure being gained from just teleporting kind of back and forth. And we find our, I believe to be tunnel out here, Gallo fake, and he just dropped main pallet. This is a very good pallet. Could even be considered a god pallet against M1s, but decided to leave the chase, taking his free pallet, and kegs back in the gens. Does have like a really nice 4, almost even 5 gen setup topside, as this map is very good for the gen spreads, and finds like Nancy again, a little bit of spectator bug with the choppiness, so sorry about that, and gets a pretty free pick. That is a lot of condemn pressure onto the Nancy as well. I believe she is at 4 stacks. Oh, she's only at... Oh, no, she is at 4 stacks, actually. But pretty much everybody has a tape. And everybody's pretty safe here. They are working gens that are kind of far away from this regen. And Sadako does have a hook pretty close to them, but... also still has a lot of that condemn pressure. Deciding to not immediately go for the Yui and rotate around for the ace. Very smart play here, because the ace would be able to get back on the gen pretty quickly. Chase that Yui. And just instantly teleporting right back to the gen, or to the hook, sorry. Getting that free tag for the tunnel out. And another tag on a Phenom that is a little bit of a, yeah, an NAE to South America hit, because the Survivor team Downpour is from South America, so there will be a bit of a ping issue. And that's a full condemn kill onto Nancy. Wow, that is very early into the match as well, to be having that condemn come up. And she does not have a tape, so it is going to be super hard for her to do much here. And yeah, she will get caught off here, as you can hear the footsteps. I believe she does have off the record, though. She's not making any noises. And Kate trying to body block, but with Sadako, you are allowed to just go through the pallet. Ooh, and there's a For the People buckle up. Insane shit. I did not know that was allowed. Oh, but will go down relatively quickly and gets that condemn kill. Wow, very early condemn kill as well. And very impressive considering a map like this, where it is kind of hard to get the condemn kill, but, you know, very well done. And there is still a lot of pressure on the map as well, with 2 injures, and neither of them having tapes. Well, Gallo now picking up his tape. 2 gens left, but with this many people injured, I feel like the game won't last much longer. And Nick does get hit very early out of that TV, and will just run to the top left side where all the completed gens are, as he should be doing. Nick is probably pretty high on condemn now, though. Yeah, reaching 3 stacks, but Phenom does have a lot of stacks as well. Gallo's doing a little better because he's been having a tape for this whole time, but Phenom does need to grab a tape relatively soon. And the chase is just staying on this side of the map. What the hell is wrong with Sadako? And there is going to be... Oh, nice job. Nick just committed the run around, and this chase might take a little bit longer, but I feel like eventually the Bulldogs will catch up. And yeah, we will see that down coming through. And we can only assume that Phenom and Gallo just have to crank out the gens. They don't have time to reset or do anything, especially with Sadako's immense pressure. But they do actually reset each other, as you can see. When the light around the other character lights up, that means that they also gained a condemned stack, so you can tell that they're resetting each other and not using some sort of means of healing themselves. That is another thing that the ring drawing does help with. You can tell when somebody resets themselves versus another person. It is a very, very strong add-on. And there's Gallofig being caught out in kind of a bad spot. Does get the dead hard off, though, but will suffer that 2 extra condemned stacks for it, as he was holding a tape. There's another teleport pretty close to Hook, just trying to secure the second stage, see if they can find out other stealthing player, and does find Phenom, and that is a full condemn as well, once again. And Phenom just probably going to be trying and run as far bottom as possible to see if they can get a save or another gen. Does time that sprint burst very, very well. But ooh, the mind game comes through, and I'm assuming we're just going to see a drop and a condemn kill. And there it is. That was amazing. Very well done to find the person stealthing for the unhook. Very well done by Keck. And we'll teleport back to Hook to try and get that other kill on either Nick or Gallo, and maybe try and get the hatch to secure. Just gonna commit to this chase, I would assume. No reason to leave it, really, unless the chase takes a little too long. Then we could see Keg trying to leave the chase and go for his gens, but gets that really fast down and insta-pick. Alright, and we'll probably just see a Hook him in. Yep, and I would assume Keg's just gonna try and... Oh, Gallo does self-reset. That could be a medkit. Yeah, it is a medkit use, as Gallo does not have any other means of healing himself. And Gallo grabs a tape. could potentially be stealthing for the hatch play, and is only really grabbing the tape so that way he can avoid his condemn getting full just by the passive teleporting. Keg's gonna try and leave hooks, see if he can spot anybody. See if you can spot Gallo kind of stealthing around for hatch, especially because with a map like this with no shack, you cannot guarantee where hatch will spawn, so it is a little bit of an RNG based thing, but I believe it might actually be that this back structure is counted as shack, but I'm not too sure. Just kind of looking around here, maybe thinking that the survivor might have thought the same thing, but no, it is pretty random on this map. Oh, does find it actually. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this does technically count as shack on this map. I know that if you use the shack at or the basement. Oh, what the fuck? Okay. Sorry about the spectator bugs. This game is not made very well. But Prism does have a pretty massive point lead here, as they did get the 4K at 2. Or, well, borderline of 4K. Unless Gallo can somehow get out of this situation. Which will be very difficult, but it is possible if you time the when you get on the gate very well by waiting for the TP, but oh, it does get caught out in the edge of the map. And ooh, insta-down with that no-ed in play, and the condemn kill. Very, very well done by Keg. That was an amazing performance, especially on such a rough map for the TV spawns and such. So very well done, especially with all these very difficult perks too. Alright, so I'll get back to you when we are ready with the next match. Alright, we are currently loading into match 2, the other Sadako set, which is on this map for some reason. I still find it a little silly. I'm casting this on very, very, very short notice, so I had no idea what the sets were going into this or anything. We were just ending practice, and Wayne asked if I wanted to cast, and I said sure. But it's all good. This is rather entertaining, and I do know a lot about Sadako. Maybe not as much about Nurse, but I should be able to provide some sort of commentary, I hope. Alright, so I'm immediately going to switch to the spec. And I will be switching through positions. Now that I have my perk blocker actually set up, we should be able to switch through people. Alright. There's... Try with them again. Everybody just seems to be stealthing. Well, Gallo's looking for somebody. There is a Hex in play, though. Which is rather interesting. And I guess Gallo's just kind of waiting for the TVs to come on. Does find Azure rather quickly. But will not be able to get that hit, and Azure will pre-drop that pallet. And Gallo's just gonna instantly cloak up and maybe break the pallet? No, we'll just commit to the down or the hit. Whichever way you can get it. Just holding W. The totem does get cleansed. That is Devour Hope gone. Very unfortunate how quickly the Hex does go away, but that is kind of the game that you play when you run that. And he's just trying to get that down, but cannot seem to get it. 3 survivors do have tapes, so it is only Azure that will be hit with some condemn here, and it won't be much, but the pallets are getting used up rather quickly on this right side of the map. And this gonna try and demanifest Mind Game this pallet. Azure will just run forward and will kind of get trapped into a bit of a corner of the map, but does have a really, really strong pallet here to use, and all the survivors I would only assume are just cranking away at these gens super fast. Azure is actually getting pretty high on condemn here, almost at 4 stacks, I would assume. The spectator mode does make it a little hard. We will be able to see. Oh no, not even close, never mind. And yeah, all these survivors are just cranking away at these topside gens, but does catch Xander very off guard here on his gen. Just gonna teleport near main once again. Does get a little bit of condemn pressure onto Xander and Azure, especially Xander, considering that he picked up a tape. And these 2 survivors are definitely gonna be scrambling for a tape now. Does catch both Autumn and who I could only assume to be Dwight. Yeah, so if this hit does come through, this will be a lot of condemn pressure spread throughout multiple survivors. Xander does grab another tape. We'll probably just go and try and insert that as soon as he can. But it will be the furthest TV, though, because of that iridescent tape add-on, which makes it so the furthest TV is only one that you can deposit it in. Does catch Autumn, though, in this corner of the map, and Autumn with Sprint Burst, though, will be pretty difficult to catch. So Gallo just opting to leave that chase, as he should. And a pretty quick pallet thrown. And obviously kicking that pallet, it is a rather strong one, especially since it's right next to this gen. You do want that gone. Ivory does get hit here, and will just run towards main, but does have some more condemn pressure onto him with 2 stacks from the tape. And there's even more condemn pressure spread throughout the map now. Azure and Xander did put away their tapes, but now are at just as much risk of getting condemned as before, considering with the multiple teleports. Just breaking this very strong pallet as he should. And Ivory just going to try and take chase in the corner of the map. Another teleport coming through, getting a little bit more condemn pressure mid-chase, but does cost him quite a bit of distance as Ivory does just kind of reverse his momentum and just heads towards that bottom side. Once again, just going back and forth throughout the map. And Gallo is struggling very hard to get his first down here. And many survivors really showing just how rough this map could be for Sadako if they play it very well in Chase. The first down will most likely be coming through now. Ooh, cannot turn that corner fast enough. The structures on this map, man, they are very, very rough. But it does end up getting a little mind game and getting the down. And that'll be the first hook. And as you can see by that little 4 counter right there, that is a pain res coming through onto some sort of gen. But all survivors do have tapes, so it's not like the Condemn will really do much of anything here. And that is another gen popping in the main building. Very difficult here for Gallo. I don't know why the survivor sheet is not working. Give me one moment. Let me see if I can fix that. Okay. I'm not sure why it's not working, but I believe it'll be working next round. Alright. And after a teleport, Azure does get found again, but cannot seem to get that save. But 2 survivors could come up and definitely get this double save. It's just a matter of how close are they. But it seems like this second stage will most likely be secured. And yeah, there isn't really too much that they could do to get that pull off without risking a trade. Which is very unfortunate for the survivors, but does give Gallo a bit more pressure onto the map. And the unhook does come through from Autumn, but we could be seeing a tunnel out. Gallo offering instead just to take the hit on Autumn, maybe get some condemned pressure, as she is holding a tape. But we can only assume that it's just going to be teleport spam from here, as 2 survivors are relatively high on condemn, and a kill must be secured at this point, especially with only 1 gen left and only 1 survivor on death hook. With a very, very rough chase and struggle to get the first down, it is rather difficult to come back at this stage. But if the snowball is big enough and the reset location is probably found, then it could be big. And there is an injured survivor here. Autumn is right next to this gen, which does have a down pallet next to it, but the pallet isn't very safe after Bloodlust. And just kind of playing this pallet back and forth. We'll probably eventually get the down here, but it might take too long and the last gen might pop, but with a nice mind game, does get that down. And we'll get the hook as well. And this could be a pain res, but there might not be enough time before the last gen pops. But the survivors seem to just be running and doing tapes, as they all have a pretty decent amount of condemn on them, as we'll see right now. Only Azure, though, is getting condemned. And all the other survivors who are holding tapes are relatively safe, but we can see with how much condemned Dwight has, even though he's on death hook, it still is a pretty big threat. But Claudette also has a lot of condemn, as you can see by the amount of lines on her. The amount of lines that a survivor has does indicate how much condemn that they're at. The more lines there are, the higher condemn that they're at. And as they're trying to play this super safe on this gen, but Gallo with Pop Goes a Weasel, it does reveal all their perks, but does get a little bit more pressure on that gen. And Ivory is full condemn. It's not like it matters too much. I don't know what that bug is, man. I swear. It's not like it matters too much since Ivory was already on death hook, but it still is a little bit of a big deal, as you can just go and get the kills super quickly. Although with Pop Goes a Weasel, you might not want to. Then you might want to instead take your hook just for the pop. So our killer Gallo is just kind of patrolling the gens back and forth, as you should be doing when you don't know where anybody is, really. And does find 2 survivors here, Azure and 1 other. And we'll just take the hit there, get a little bit more condemn pressure with that tape. But it is already lost for the killer, I believe. It does find Autumn out in the corner of the map, potentially trying to get a tape or rotate a tape, but we'll go down and does get a hook. now be going back to patrolling the gens, as he should. And does find Ivory out of position here. Instead of opting to commit to the chase, though, just using the pop goes a weasel real quick. Regress that done. And actually finds Xander stealthing in the edge map here. I believe the win con was already met, as it was a 4K2. But I believe that Survivors and the Killer are just going to try and play it out as best as they can. And there will be another hit there. On a Survivor with 8-8, so that will be a lot more pressure as well. Xander immediately going to grab another tape, though. Does not want to get condemned there, especially considering that he has not been hooked yet. It would be a pretty big deal. Autumn is full condemned, but although it, once again, does not really matter too much as Autumn is death hook. And Gallo opting to just not commit to any of these chases, as he knows that one even remotely long chase could lead to him losing the game here. Actually catches Azure relatively off guard here. Azure maybe trying to rotate for that 4-lane pallet right there, or trying to rotate to main, but did not know where Sadeko was coming from, and that's a pretty quick down. And another hook onto Azure, or onto a fresh hook survivor, sorry. And we can only assume that Autumn is probably just going to hold onto a tape, but not put it back, as there is really no incentive to put your tape back if you are full condemn. And ooh, Autumn is caught off guard here, but does have the sprint burst to help reach that pallet. And instead of chasing, opting to just leave, maybe get another condemn, which he does on Ivory. But once again, doesn't matter. Full already death hook, so at that point you might as well just hook for the pop. And finds another survivor here. Could be the Claudette, but opts to just leave it instead to go pressure this gen. It was definitely the Claudette that was going for the pull, but with such an easy kill here onto Autumn, it's almost guaranteed that he would take that. And is opting for the hook for that pop goes a weasel. And that's a pretty great play in my eyes. Instead of, you know, just dropping, going for the free condemn kill, which would be slightly faster. Getting that pop goes a weasel will help you pretty immensely. And Azure once again getting condemned due to not having a tape. Although it probably won't matter too much, as he was already hooked once. And they are resetting. Azure did reset Xander, but it is kind of like a little chess match. And there's a full reset going on in main. And Xander is actually very high condemn. If Xander gets hit here, that could just be an insta-kill, but Gallo's going for Ivory here, who is in a little bit of a worse position, considering that this main building's loops are pretty unsafe. And instantly leaving that chase, very good, considering that he burnt the balance landing out of Ivory. Very strong. And Gallo just now onto Azure, who is not on death hook and is fully condemned. So this would save a pretty decent amount of time if this down were to go through. Xander is getting condemned once again, but did deposit the tape, so we'll be on massively less condemn, only around 3 stacks now. And another gen kit coming through, and just kind of teleporting back and forth. Trying to build a little bit more condemn on Xander, maybe catch him off guard, which he does. But at this point, I must wonder, is it even worth it to chase Xander, considering he's not even on full condemn, and other survivors are injured, or on full, or both even. We'll just leave that chase, go for Ivory in this main building, maybe take a tag here. Ooh, does drop that pallet. That will be a tag. Ooh, unfortunately missing that. Ooh, but does teleport back. We'll get a little bit more condemn on Azure and Xander. But will it be enough, considering that the gen pressure throughout both of these sides of the map is so good, and also that these TVs are turned off and on very frequently? it seems like eventually Gallo's going to have to commit to a chase where he might not be able to win just due to the amount of resources this map can have in such good spots. Does keep getting condemned on the Xander though, and Ivory just pressuring this gen like crazy. Does get a pretty fast tag there though, on a relatively unsafe pallet, but still. Now 2 survivors are injured and they need to go reset it, either each other or reset alone. And Xander is still passively getting condemned. These survivors still need to play it relatively safe, but that is going to be that gen most likely getting done here. Yeah, that is very strong. And considering that the survivors should know that there is no NOED here, this chase should be long enough for the other 2 survivors to get out. Sorry about that. Instead, the survivors are just going to reset in main building, take it super safe. And we do see the wake up on Azure, so we can only assume they're just going to hop on the gate immediately. Especially for that chase, and I would assume Gallo is going to take this hook and maybe try and go pressure the gates, but honestly, it's unclear what to do in this situation. If I were the Sadako in this situation, it'd be kind of rough, especially because the double save could very easily come through. But just gonna go to this gate, and Azure not able to get it, even with that wake up, still not able to make it, and does get a pretty easy tag here. Ivory rotated for the save, does get that pull pretty much for free, uncontested, and Azure is just going to use every single resource that he can, but there isn't really too much left on this map, as a lot of the pallets were dropped in, rightfully so, buying the team a lot of time, but not enough for Azure to live at the very end. Both survivors did get reset, or just Xander got reset, actually, and Ivory able to dispense the tape, but Gallo kind of in a sticky spot here. Both these gates are super far from one another, and 2 survivors are full of health, and you do not have that NOED, so it is rather hard to get pressure on both. Xander is fully condemned on this gate, but Gallo not able to do anything about it, just has to leave, because by the time he gets there, Xander is able to get out. So Ivory actually going for this save here, but sorry, I'm so tired. But probably not able to get it here, considering how strong this loop is. Ivory will have to either go for this pull now, which he does, or, ooh, he might actually not have enough time to make it to the gate. No, with that balanced landing, he actually will have plenty of time. And Gallo's just going to opt to secure this last kill real quick before the match ends. And that is going to be a 2K9. Still a rather impressive result, but the other killer just able to do so much better. But still, this is a relatively rough map for Sadako, considering how RNG the TVs can be. I think that was a still perfectly fine result. The results will be 1 for Prism right now, and 0 for Downpour, and I believe the next set is Nurse, so we will be back in a moment. going to make it work real quick. Alright, we are back with the awesome nurse set. I'm immediately going spec. Okay, and I don't know why we're on this map, but we are on Wrecker's Yard, I guess. And Nurse not having any perks or add-ons. This is pretty crazy. As you can see by there's no little 3 counter. Nurse does not have any add-ons or offering. Or it does have an offering, sorry. But does not have any add-ons. Or perks. And Chase Music, for some reason bugged, but does get that really fast down on the keg. We'll get that insta-pick. And the survivors... Well, one's working Shack. And the other 2, I would assume, are just stealthing. Ooh, Xander is actually pretty aggressively working on this gen. But Shack is a rather unsafe gen to be working. Does just teleport right past Shack, though. And finds Ivory. Caught kind of out of position here. I'm actually going to leave and press spectate one more time. Yeah, there we go. The audio is fixed now. Now, it's going to be a pretty quick down onto Ivory there. Wow, the amount of map pressure that this nurse has right now as an injure and a hook right next to this very progressed gen. Very, very strong. And considering with that nurse bug that does let her just walk super fast while recovering from a single blink. That's canceled. Ooh, the blink does get swallowed there by the wall, I believe. That will cost the chase, and Xander is able to just kind of get away. And Venom just opting to leave that chase. Venom being one of the better, from what I understand from South America, I do believe that he is one of the better nurses of South America. So he is obviously doing very well with his blinks, and his general map pressure here is very, very strong. Prism still has yet to pop a generator just because of all this pressure in terms of where the hook is, and also just able to get super fast tags in super quick downs, even without perks or add-ons needed. But on a map like Wrecker's Yard, this is a very difficult task. That is going to be a rather quick tag onto Xander. And Xander's opting to go Shack. We'll try and play that 50-50, but does unfortunately lose it. And Venom just going to slug right there. And maybe try and secure his kill as early as 5, maybe even 4 gens. If Autumn is working on a gen. And Autumn is just committing to this gen. I'm assuming they are just going to let Ivory die. Oop, does get off the gen. Could be potentially going to pick up Xander here. But I don't think anybody has any time to reach Ivory on that very far away hook. And there's just kind of holding this blank Shack. Finds the reset happening onto Xander. Very, very well done. And we'll get another down onto Autumn. This pressure is insane. 5 gens with no perks. And 2 slugs. Does get that gen though. And that will most likely be the 4K. Unless K can do something very crazy here. Either stealth it out or have a really long chase. But now it does get found pretty much instantly. Autumn does have that Unbreakable though, which might buy him enough time to maybe pop another gen or 2. If they can get that pull onto Xander during the time of this chase. Ooh, does get that down relatively quickly though. That could be very bad for Team Prism here. Although they have secured at least 1 gen, it's still not very much easier for their killer play after this match. That is a pretty quick hook. And he is on second stage. And we can only assume that these survivors are going to try and reset. Or maybe not, as Autumn is very close on his gen, which is going to pop pretty soon. And Autumn does have Deli at the ready, so hooking Autumn is not a very wise choice here. But the back-to-back hook trades will come into play, and Nurse Bug, as usual. With the Spectator Bug, you know how it is. We will have to just wait for Nurse to get a hit here or something. And does find Autumn after popping that gen in that corner of the map. And Autumn does have Deli at the ready though, so this could be pretty bad, as we can see either the reset or the working of another gen. But I believe that after this next gen, I don't think it's possible for them to get anything better than a 4K2. Maybe even a 4K3 could come into play. And yeah, Xander is caught out in a pretty bad spot, especially with what I would assume to be no sprint burst. It is going to be rather tough, and yeah, just kind of accepting that. They're going to go down. Xander hops lock, and we'll get pulled out pretty quickly. Ooh, that is a decisive strike, though. Could come into play and help maybe just prolong the chase just a little. Does get the dead hard as well, which is very big. And Venom opting to leave that chase does not want another gen popping. Wants a win con to be as easy as possible. And just immediately leaves for this gen, which is a lot. It does have a lot of, but will also get the very fast down as well. And just gonna go back here and make sure this gen does not pop while he is being hooked. We'll just take that kill onto Gig, and we'll probably just go and defend the other gen on the other side of the map, which would normally be at 5. As that gen was being worked on by Xander earlier, it would be pretty smart to try and check over here, see if somebody's working these gens. And although the gen is rather progressed, it doesn't seem to be having a lot more progress than before. Ooh, does find somebody, I believe that was somebody over here stealthing, and yep, that is Autumn, caught pretty out of position here. And Autumn using that sprint burst, I believe that's sprint burst, to get away just a little bit, but won't be enough for Nurse, unfortunately, especially on a map like Wrecker's Yard. But another gen is being worked. This is that same 5 position gen, and it might be able to be popped, but if... oh yeah, no. Venom having perfect line of sight to that gen, he is able to see Xander both work on it and get off of that gen. And I believe that unless some crazy hatch play does come up, then I don't think there's much that Team Prism can do here, and I'll just have to accept their 4K3. Which is still a very strong result for the Nurse. But especially with no perks and no add-ons, that is such an insane result. But it is a map like Wrecker's Yard, which is very difficult for Nurse, or for survivors against Nurse, considering how small it is and how tight those 3 gens can be. Yeah, and Xander just kind of walking edge map, trying to waste as much time against Nurse, but will go down as there isn't really too much to work with. And yeah, that will be the 4K at 3. And with no perks and no add-ons, that is extremely strong. Very well done by Venom. Yeah, what a dominant performance. Very, very, very well done. Alright, we'll get back to you when we're ready with our next match, which will be Prism's Killer. Alright, and we're back with the final match. And I believe this is Nurse with also no perks. Once again. I'm going to have to back out and re-enter, or otherwise the audio is going to be buggy. So the perks are leaked. This is why we need a delay. But I was told I can stream without delay, so that's fine. Alright, and all the survivors are just kind of stealthing out. We're just trying to play as safe as they possibly can. And Dessert is on killer here. I believe the win con is set. The survivors do need to get a fresh out from what I remember. That's what I was told, at least. Which could be a pretty difficult task, considering that Dessert is probably going to play around that fact. And there's a pretty quick tag as well. And all the other survivors are just trying to stealth it out, I guess. Ooh, but the overcome survivor is chased first, which does mean that the down is going to be kind of quick. And there's already somebody set up for this pull as a Fang, but I'm not sure what kind of perks the Fang has. He could have Deli or something, which could be very good. Oh yeah, she's Deli and she is just kind of setting up for this pull. Very smart play, but Nurse might just try and hold this hook as long as she possibly can. And Nurse is kind of going towards Shaq. And kind of just flicking back and forth. Trying to make sure that nobody can get this pull, as the win con is super strong. I believe that if she just kind of secures this kill, especially since it's so early, it could be really, really good for the killer. Gallo might try and jump in for the save at any moment here. Try to get the save before second stage, which could help a lot. A gen does pop, which is pretty good, but it might not be enough. It does get that pull before second stage, which is rather big for the win con, and gets a hit on the Gallo as well. But it might not be enough for Gallo to get anywhere, and that's a pretty quick down. This is Deli though, so it could be pretty big for the pressure. Gallo just trying to crawl away as much as he can, trying to make a little bit of distance away from this back hook, which is super scary. But obviously Nurse is just going to get it. And we could assume the Nurse could maybe try and leave this hook, as it is pretty obviously Deli. Usually whenever there's a first save against a Nurse, you would just assume it's a Deli player. So yeah, leaving this hook to try and go for another injure or down as fast as possible. I believe the survivors need to get a fresh out, but they could also do other things like get maybe a 2K with like only 9 stages or 8 or something. So it could be still very possible, but it will be difficult for the survivors here. Although, with not a very stable tunnel out here, it is kind of rough for Zer, kind of having to spread out these hooks, especially because the gen pressure, I would assume, on the survivors is, yeah, very, very strong. With a bunch of split up people on gens, and everybody full reset other than Gallo, who obviously cannot be reset at the moment. And this is a Nurse bug, but Nurse is definitely somewhere else. Not sure where, but you can assume that she's just trying to look for somebody. Maybe even Gallo, who is the only injured survivor after this reset. It's rather unclear where anybody is, but Azur does check on his gen at the bus, which is where Gallo was, but Gallo's already pre-ran and started stealthing, so it's pretty unclear of where he is, although we can only assume that he's probably just ran edge map into a place that's very unadvantageous to chase. And it is a really rough position here for Azur, considering that The gen spread is quite far, and it is kind of hard to find people in this current situation. Does kind of search edge map, see if you can find anybody, but as far as I'm aware, there are no survivors over here, although there is the ace stealthing in this corner, although it would take probably too long to look for him at that point. And there's another gen popping. That gives Downpour 8 total points. And they are in a very, very good position. Does find Nia though, or sorry, not Nia, Nancy. And will commit to this chase actually, even though it is relatively far from the gens. As long as this chase is fast enough, it could be really advantageous, but ooh, missing that blink could waste a pretty decent amount of time. Ooh, and gets that blink swallowed too. Oh, that's so unfortunate. Does get the down, but at what cost? Does the amount of time spent on that down is just so much that they can double it. Yep, they're doubling this last gen. And that will be the gen popping, especially with no perks. It's too far of a chase from the gens for it to be worth it. And yeah, just gonna go back, see if they can try and get another kill here, considering how fast the pull came through. But it is such a rough spot to be in, especially considering that you have no perks to help you here, like No Way Out or Terminus or something. It is a relatively tough position, as Downpour will just take their 3 out here, as they should, and secure their win. Very, very well played. The Downpour, they played that perfectly. And all their chases were super long too, and they stealthed at the perfect times. They did great considering how rough this map really is against Nurse. So, very, very well done. Yeah, I believe that that'll be it. I believe Downpour wins, although I'm gonna check in really quick. And I'll be right back. Alright, and I already just got the confirmation. Yep, Downpour won. I'm not sure what the final score is, although for this match it is 15-17. So Downpour has won, and by a pretty large margin as well. So yeah, that'll be it. I've been your caster, Shua. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm not sure when the next match will be. Let me ask real quick. Alright, so I'm unsure of when the next match will be, but this is it for round 2, as every other team has forfeited or dropped out. So, yeah, thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more.